What's up, guys? Pepper Beef Too Spicy here. Hope you guys doing alright. Welcome to the full crouch mix-up tutorial for Noctis, which I think it deserves its own section because this thing is probably very integral to Noctis's mix-up game. It's one of his few ways of actually opening up an opponent reliably because he does have an ambiguous mix-up from full crouch. It's not as high explosive as Laws or Shaheen's or Leo's, for example, but it is still pretty good, and I think it is worth talking about. So the two most important parts of his full crouch mix-up is his full crouch down forward 2 and his up forward 3. So these are your options. He has this pretty good low 17 damage, plus 3 on hit. On counter, it's like plus 16 or something. On block, it's only negative 13. It is a sword, so that means it's not parryable either. Pretty unseeable, tracks really well. I believe it loses a sidewalk right, but it is still really good tracking in general. And if the opponent starts ducking that, you eat the up 4-3, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's like, well, okay, well, I want to finally block that low. And then boom, launcher, and then, you know, this is gonna do a lot of damage. 763, so that's a good amount of damage, and that's no bueno for Lars here. But let's say it's like, okay, well, I know that's a problem, so I'm never gonna duck it. Well, the thing with full crouch down forward 2 is that it leaves him in full crouch, so he can actually do more full crouch options. The thing is, it just spaces them out more. But the good part about them being spaced out is that because it spaces them out, that means that any moves that they would try to do to catch Noctis would be a lot slower. So they'd say after this, they try to counter hit Noctis out of, or try to launch him out of crouch. He can intro or float with a wall standing 4. He could do a wall standing 1-2, which will reach. He could do a wall standing 2-2. He could do wall standing 2-2, by the way, in replace of up forward 3. But the combo, this is pretty much kind of just like, just for the range, because, or balcony slash wall break, because up forward 3 is safer and does more damage. The only thing about up forward 3 though is that it has worse range. So while wall standing 2-2 will hit from here, up forward 3 will not. So pretty much the only reason to use wall standing 2-2 over up forward 3 is just because of the range, or if you're at the wall. I mean, if you have a balcony break, because this is still better at the wall. You can get some fancy shenanigans wall mix-ups there. Wall standing 2-2. Anyway, so that's the gist of it. And so you mix these in with each other, so you can create a pretty decent mix-up game where it's like, if you do this, you control neutral for a few seconds if the opponent tries to go in. If they keep backing up, then you get to advance and you get to do more a pressure game or keep them out more with using Noctis's really great range attack. So if you hit him with this, you create more and more space between you and your opponent, which is primarily, I think, what Noctis wants to do, since he wants to take advantage of his range game. There are a couple other options here. You have up forward 2, which you can jump cancel this, make it really short range, which is good because the move actually goes too far, in my opinion. It goes too far sometimes, so it's hard hitting someone who's directly in front of you. But this move is a lot more seeable, but it is good if someone's trying to low your full crouch. Same thing for this, but this one is a lot more reward. And I think it's got a better hitbox, so it's a lot easier to hit in terms of that, because up forward 3 has less range. You can also do up forward 4 from full crouch, which is good if someone's trying to step your full crouch, which is not really the best thing, since of course this tracks really well, but regardless, this is a consistent homing option that you can do from full crouch. The only thing is that it's a high, but it's also negative 5 on block, so that's really good. With that being said, most of his transitions from full crouch are going to be down 3, 1-2-3, or slash 1-2-4. He can do roll, hold down into full crouch. He doesn't have to do that. He can just do roll into standing. He has, what she calls it, he does that dick jab, but he'll can do it from crouching anyways. He has full crouch down forward 2, which automatically takes him into full crouch. He has down 1, which is also really great to get into full crouch, because this is plus 4 on hit and negative 3 on block. Was from negative 7? There you go, negative 3 on block. For MBA was lying to me. So negative 3 on block, and then this, you pretty much get a guaranteed full crouch mix-up. If you hit this, if it hits, they can kind of contest the full crouch down forward 2. However, if they want to contest that, they can eat this up forward 1, which is going to trade with 10 frames, and even if it trades, you still get the counter hit. That does a lot of damage for Noctis as well. It's really strong. It's one of his strongest launchers if it counter hits. So this is sort of like a frame trap situation. We were like, okay, well, respect me when I do my full crouch mix-up here, because if you don't, you're gonna eat this. And if you try ducking that, well, you eat this while standing 2-2. So the kind of thing just, you know, it falls into itself really, really nicely. You can also do it from down 3, and this is -3 on hit. It's not as free, however, because it's -2, this kind of gets people to press more buttons. So let's say they might try to jab you because it's -2, well, you can do full crouch down 4-2, and that's gonna high crush. And if they try to do a mid, you can do while standing 4, and that'll trade with them. Or you could sidestep, you could, since this faces out too, you could backdash, you could, you could parry, you could up forward 1. This one's a little bit riskier because you are not on the best frame data for that, but the point is that even though it's negative on hit, it's very, very flexible in the options that you can do here to control your opponent into, you know, making a mistake. So, like, yes, you could pressure with the full crouch mix-up, like this, or like, you know, this, and then if that's annoying to them, then you start moving, you start parrying, etc. So you start creating the illusion that you're vulnerable to get hit because you're negative, and then you start using and taking movement to your advantage to throw your opponent off their game. But the primary ones for full crouch transition are going to be down 1 and down 3. Those two are fast, and they are very, very quick. I mean, obviously the same thing twice, but they are very easy to apply a full crouch mix-up afterwards. The options that are out of it that are the best. Obviously, this one is your strongest low. You can do this sometimes, but there's no reason to do that over this because this, while slower, is not parryable and only -13. This is launch punishable and does less damage. So that's not really something you really want to, you know, use over in favor of full crouch down 4-2, because that low is just not as, it doesn't really bring anything to the table that Noctis already doesn't have with a better move. But the one thing that I really like from full crouch is wall standing 3. You might think, why is wall standing 3 so good? Wall standing 3 is very good because it's 14 frames, so virtually unseeable, and it's +9 on hit into a nosebleed stun. The only way to get out of nosebleed stun, which, I mean, it's +9, so I mean, that's, you got to take the frame advantage, but if you hold down from a nosebleed stun, you will, let me just have him crouching, you will fall down. And if you fall down, the follow-up will whiff, and then I think you can get whiff punished pretty bad for that. So wall standing 3 works like this. It's +9 on hit, so if you hit this, you get a very, very, very free mix-up. If it's blocked, I believe it is about -9-ish, probably, maybe 8. -7, actually. So if it's -7, then obviously the opponent should press his advantage, right? However, the thing that protects the -7 is that this has a follow-up. So if you can do wall standing 3-2, and he jumps very far back, throws a warp strike, and that leads into the warp strike mix-up. I mean, Okazemi trap, which is really, really strong with Noctis. Warp strike on Okazemi is very good for Noctis. And the warp strike itself is -11, and you can sidestep it pretty linear. However, the opponent has to know that it's coming. So you can condition your opponent in several different ways. You could do this a lot, and then if your opponent tries pressing buttons, you're like, okay, well, I don't want to get hit by that, so I'm just going to wait for him to whiff Warp Strike after Wall Standing 3. And then Wall Standing 3 becomes safe, because then they're expecting the Warp Strike, and it never comes. I mean, it's already safe, but then it becomes even safer, because now the opponent doesn't want to, you know, press anything on the Wall Standing 3 in fear of the Warp Strike follow. They'll either try stepping, or they'll try just waiting for the Warp Strike to happen, and it's not coming. The reason I like this over up 4-3 sometimes is that this has more range. It is a knee. It's 14 frames, so it's faster, not parryable. And it's the freest mix-up in the world afterwards. You get +9, and you could do this. You could do this. You could do that, whatever. You know, you could jump from 4-2. Now, I know the game is saying it's a combo starter. It's because of the stun state, but you can actually block. You can actually block this stuff. So don't be fooled. It is a real combo. I mean, it is not a real combo. You can block. But like I was saying earlier, it's like, okay, well, what if they do the nosebleed stun, then they fall down? Do I have to do Okazemi? And then the good point is that no, you don't, because that actually puts them into a launchable state. I'm just have to do this then. It's 55 damage, so that's pretty good, and you can probably do more with that. So this does not. So holding down from the nosebleed stun does not save them. And you can confirm whether they are going to do the nosebleed stun or not, since it does take a while for them to fall. and then you can just confirm with the down 2-2. While saying 3, by the way, you can do down 2-2 afterwards fine, because if they try to press a button out of that +9, then they will get counter hit, and then that will be a true combo. Well, not that, sorry. So if this counter hits, it leads into that 37, and then you get a lot of plus frames on hit. So it's a really great, like, self-protecting, like, everything, like, all the options cover each other. It's really, really great. Only thing about while saying 3, though, is that it's pretty linear, so you have to be a little bit careful about that. But, of course, since it's linear, you have your homing options from full crouch, which is 4-4-4, and full crouch down 4-2. The other move is wall standing 1-2. You can use that as well. It's unsafe on the second hit, but you can slightly hit confirm. It's not like completely hit confirmable, because if you have really too long, the opponent can block it like that, so it's -13. It is only +2 on hit, but it does leave full crouch. But like I mentioned in other tutorials, if the opponent knows that it's only +2, they might try to press something afterwards to stop your frame advantage, and then you can bait that with a sidestep into like a hop kick or something like that, or a hop sword, whatever. So that's really good. The move also, if the second hit counter hits, you do get a free down back 1+2, which is really great. And then wall standing 4, you don't really need to use that, since if you're going to use wall standing 4, you might as well use wall standing 3. Only thing that has wall standing 4 is the benefit is that it's faster and it's less negative, but if you're going for a safe mid option, you might as well do wall standing 3 in the first place, since it does give you that very free mix-up. And wall standing 1-2 if you want to confirm that too. So with all these being said, like examples here, scenario would be like, okay, down 3, then do that, and then the opponent's like, okay, well, next time he does that, I'm gonna pressure him since that's not real. Then you sidestep, then you launch. You're down 1, it actually spaces out pretty far on block, I think. I'll block him over here, that's a lot of range. Let's see, what space out, there we go. About here. So about there, the opponent can still get put into the full crouch mix-up, because almost all your options will reach there. Wall standing 2 and down full crouch down 4-2 will reach there. Up close is a little bit harder to contest if it's blocked, so you might want to think about like moving or parrying instead of pressing an attack. You can still do wall standing 4, like if this is blocked, you do wall standing 4 in a vain attempt to catch them. But since you are about -3, you could get contested by some stuff, so you got to be careful. This move also tracks pretty okay-ish, so that's also pretty good for putting yourself in full crouch mix-up. But also this way, the down 3 does track almost completely, so it kind of works for itself both ways. This you don't really want to use too much, because once opponent starts realizing that you're doing that, it is a launch punishable on hit and on block, so you have to be really careful. But this does automatically put you into full crouch, so you can apply mix-up right away. Most of the time, Noctis players are going to do like full crouch down 4-2, so you can start mixing that up on a more experienced opponent with like wall standing 2-2, wall standing 3, wall 4-3, etc. Use this when you think the opponent is really, really respecting your 1-2, or the reverse is where your opponent is like trying to like do moves immediately after 1-2, and then you could like sidestep it and then, you know, get a punish there. The roll is also really good to apply a full crouch mix-up, because, you know, once the opponent sees the roll coming at them, they either have to contest it with a move, or they just take the mix-up. The roll is really, really, really linear, so as long as your opponent's not stepping too much, you can use the roll in general. But since, if the roll manages to get up to the opponent, then at that point the opponent is just guessing. So if you do an empty roll into full crouch, then it becomes like a true mix-up that's create a lot of hesitation, because, well, they expected the roll mix-up, and then it turns into a full crouch mix-up. So that's a really good way to open up your opponents. And that's the gist of his full crouch game. Not many moves from it, but all the moves have their own purposes. So the highest reward thing you can do, of course, is up 4-3 or up 4-2. Up 4-2 is a little bit harder to hit because it's, you know, really, really slow, thus reactable. Up 4-3 doesn't have as much range, so, and wall standing 2-2. So they all have their different uses. So up 4-2, you could try using it. It does work as a low crouch if somebody tries to like low poke your full crouch mix up, but it is pretty slow and doesn't track well, except for sidestep right a little bit, so you have to be careful about that. But it does have a lot of range. Wall standing up 4-3 is safe for only -13, but the range on it is no good. But it is unreactable. So this, like right here, this is the true 50-50, like between this and it depends on what the opponent wants to guess and how much risk are they willing to take by ducking full crouch down 4-2. And if you're far away, and obviously up 4-2 is not going to hit from here because it's too slow, you could always do wall standing 2-2. But you have to be careful that this is not hit confirmable, and it is negative 14. Also does less damage as a combo starter than up 4-3 does. But it is faster than up 4-3 though. Up 4-3 is 17, and wall setting 2-2 is 15 frames. If you want to be safer, you can do wall setting 1-2 hit confirm. Come on. There we go. You can do wall standing 4, or my personal favorite, I like using wall standing 3 a lot because it gives a lot of plus frames. It's a knee, 14 frames, has that follow-up that protects it, and you can get a launcher if they hold down on it. If they, otherwise you just get free mix-up, otherwise. And then, of course, the thing that puts this all together is as long as you scare them enough with this. If they are afraid of this, if they are tired of getting hit by this low, especially since you can't low parry it, then you have the mix-up complete, and you can do a lot of different options here. Also, one thing that I like doing a lot is I like going opponent's face and just full crouching, because technically that's like the same thing as Law doing that. It's just because if an opponent knows about Noctis's full crouch mix-up, then this is going to be something they're going to be afraid of, because like, uh-oh, here comes the full crouch mix-up. As long as you've pressured them enough that they'll be afraid of it, and they're not going to like hop kick you as soon as you go into full crouch in front of their face. It's a little bit riskier, but you need to do that with the right mentality and the right like read on the opponent's how they react to things and such forth. Otherwise, down 3, down 1, and sometimes 1-3, but not too much. That's pretty much. Oh, and yeah, roll as well, as long as they're hesitating. That's pretty much it for the full crouch mix-up. It's one of Noctis's most reliable ways to open people up, since it is a true 50-50 at this range, about range 1.5. Wall standing 2-2 will hit from there, and full crouch down 4-2 will hit from, since this move also has quite a bit of range. Think about here. Yeah, damn, this move has crazy range. So, it's really good, and the thing that's really great about it is that he doesn't have to be super close to apply the true 50-50, since at here, the opponent has to guess between the two, since both of them, he has both mid options and a low option that will hit from here. And most of the time, I think people are not going to try to duck that low, because it doesn't do a lot. It does give you a lot of good things, but not that crazy. It's not even launch punishable, so the opponent doesn't have a true incentive to block it unless they have a negative 13 launcher. So you're going to have to do a lot of these to condition the opponent to block low, unless they really just don't like that move in general. Then you can hit them with this and this for free. That being said, that's Noctis's full crouch game. Pretty important. I think you'd want to wrap your head around using it a lot if you want to open up people with Noctis and just get in their heads and mess with them and truly mix them up. So, thanks for watching. Leave any questions in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Peace.